Some of the most damaging relationships are the hardest ones to explain, and they don't have to look extreme in order to be deeply harmful. Welcome to the Covert Narcissism Podcast, where we make sense of what never quite made sense. If you've been listening for a while, you may already understand what's happening in your relationship. You can see the patterns, you can name the behaviors, but maybe you still feel stuck in the same cycle. This is where coaching comes in. It's not about learning more, it's about having the support to finally apply what you already know and begin moving forward. You need a coach. If you're ready for that next step, I invite you to join me in my coaching program. You can learn more about it at covertnarcissism.com. Hey everyone, welcome back. I have a real treat for you today. I am sharing another episode from the podcast Breaking Free from Narcissistic Abuse. This podcast is hosted by Dr. Kerry McAvoy. She's a retired psychologist, author, and expert on cultivating healthy relationships and deconstructing narcissism. In this episode, Kerry sits down with Dr. Jennie Young, a PhD linguist and the creator of the viral Burned Haystack Dating Method. Here's the question that kicks things off. Have you ever ignored a gut feeling on a date because you wanted to give him a chance? Dr. Young has spent her career studying critical discourse analysis, basically how language reveals what people don't want you to know. And she's turned that expertise on dating profiles and early messages. In this episode, she breaks down how the words people use before you've even met can expose exactly who they are. If you're working on trusting your instincts again and learning to spot red flags earlier, then this one's for you. Let's get into it.
I was demoralized like I always was on the dating apps. And I just Google searched, how do you find a needle in a haystack? Since that's what we're all looking for, especially if you want a long-term monogamous partner, which is what I wanted. The answer in real life is that you burn the haystack to the ground. Like you physically set it on fire and just let it burn until there's nothing left. What critical discourse analysis does is teach you to read people's language in a way that reveals to you things that they don't want you to know. So you learn to read patterns rather than words. You learn to read syntax, and you learn what someone's words and phrases are coded to reveal, whether that's an inclination to abuse or to exploit or whatever it might be.
Well, what can we start to notice about people that will give us some insight into who they are?
If I'm going to pick two things that are like the reddest red flags that this is going to be bad, is a man who is...
Is it possible to spot a dangerous or abusive person from their very first introduction? Jennie Young, author of a new book called Burned Haystack, says yes, we can learn a lot about a person by how they reveal who they are, even on dating profiles. Well, I'm so excited to have you here today, Jennie Young. I think of you as also Dr. Young, but many people may not be familiar with you. But I came across you, I'm trying to remember how, it was of course on Facebook, and you were starting, it was early when you started this Facebook group, which now I know has just blown up into something massively huge, because you developed a method called, I think I get it right, Burned Haystack Method, Dating Method.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what is that and how in the world did you develop this method and why did it work for you? Like what uniquely did you bring to this that made you able to do that?
Sure. So probably like a lot of things, I had no idea what this was going to turn into. And initially I was just trying to solve my own problem. And my own problem is that as a woman on dating apps for the first time, even though I'd heard, all the jokes and the complaints and it's so terrible out there, you kind of don't believe it until you've experienced it firsthand. And when I experienced it firsthand, initially I went through what a lot of women go through, which is you sort of internalize everything and think, clearly there's something wrong with me, because this is not going well, right? I'm either being ignored or aggressed or screamed at or sexualized or whatever it is. And like, this seems to be this whole new bizarro world that I just can't function in, but this must just be how it is now. So if you want to date, you have to put up with it. And so I went through a couple cycles of that where I would try it for a week or two and then just shut down all the apps, cancel my accounts, delete all the pictures and be like, I don't want anything to do with that. I would rather die alone. And I went through that a number of times. And then I don't remember if this was like try 3 or 4 or 5, but I remember thinking, I don't have trouble functioning in any other aspect of my life. Like, I communicate with people of all ages. I'm a college professor, so I communicate with people of all ages every single day, and I don't have a problem understanding them. They don't have a problem understanding me. I'm not going through the whole world fighting with everybody about everything or defending myself from every statement. It's only in this one very narrow aspect of life that there are all these problems. So once I realized that, I thought, maybe it's not just me. Like, maybe other women are having this experience too. And the more I talked to other women, I realized that not only were other women also having bad experiences, they were having precisely the exact same set of bad experiences I was having, like down to the words and phrases men were using. And when I really started to think about that, I realized I've already got a skill set that could be helpful here. So I have a PhD in English, but my specialization is in rhetoric and discourse studies. So basically, like the study of conversations, of discourse. And even within that, a more sort of obscure specialty is in a method called critical discourse analysis, which falls under the umbrella of applied rhetoric, which is just taking the academic discipline of rhetoric and applying it to real life. So what critical discourse analysis does, and this is why it's a superpower on the dating apps, and I don't know why it took me so long to figure it out, what it does really well is teach you to read people's language in a way that reveals to you things that they don't want you to know. So you learn to read patterns rather than words. You learn to read syntax, and you learn what someone's words and phrases are coded to reveal, whether that's an inclination to abuse or to exploit or whatever it might be. So it is, I feel today, the most powerful method you can apply to being like in the world of virtual dating for sure, but dating at all. And we're using it in all kinds of other applications too. So I can talk through the burned haystack metaphor, but I'll stop.
Yeah. In fact, I think it's for anyone who's like, well, I'm not going to date, I should just check out of this discussion. It applies to every conversation. I mean, it's not just the dating, but you could do this. You could use this at the coworker, at the job.
Oh,
or even when you're sussing out a job. Is this a good fit for me at the workplace? And,
yes.
Yeah.
We've been applying it to job postings recently because there's a lot in those that reveal how you're going to be treated. Yeah. So if you see a job posting that says, we're looking for the person who really wants to lift others up and not looking for any kind of personal gratification.
Oh,
that's not going to be a good job. You're not going to be treated well there. You're going to be used. And that's what they're telling you.
Yeah, exactly. So you realized you had this ability to sort of spot patterns by the person's usage of words, and then you started applying it to dating profiles. And so how did you get the idea of the burned haystack? I love the fact that you're like, I know the adage, which is, you're looking for a needle in a haystack.
Right. Yeah, so late one night, and this was still very early on, where I was kind of starting to like tinker with my own language, with how I was interpreting men's dating app profiles, and I was starting to like categorize these patterns that I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit here. But sort of like, it was late and I was demoralized like I always was on the dating apps. And I just Google searched, how do you find a needle in a haystack? Since that's what we're all looking for, especially if you want a long-term monogamous partner, which is what I wanted. And that's who the method speaks to. Like if you're looking for, hookups or poly relationships, zero judgment, that's not what burned haystack is for. Like, don't use it if that's what you want. So I Googled, how do you find a needle in a haystack? And the answer in real life is that you burn the haystack to the ground. Like, you physically set it on fire and just let it burn until there's nothing left, because metal doesn't burn, and then you'll just find the needles instead of like picking through a pile of hay, for the rest of your life.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So what did you start to see? I would love to hear what started to pop up, because I know a lot of us get into these situations. I know for myself. I mean, I think back to when I met my ex, and even his dating profile. I know that you would have found it fascinating, because at the end of it he says, "I've decided to tell people my non-negotiable after several unsuccessful dates." And then he lists 5 things, and I thought, "Oh, how cool. I don't apply to any 5."
Right.
And I
Right.
thought, I thought that it's he's being straightforward and honest. How is that such a good thing?
Exactly. And at face value, if you're a reasonable person, of course that's what you would think, right? You
Yeah.
would be like,
Yeah.
yay, transparency. What we would call that in Burned Haystack is the disciplinary directive rhetorical pattern, because this man has decided to use his dating app, which is supposed to be like a little about him, right? Like, share about
Yeah.
your life. He's decided to use that very limited space to boss women around, women he hasn't even met. So that's very revealing. Like, he thinks that the most important thing he can do is order women around. And disciplinary directive rhetorical pattern, even at the very low key end, I'm talking something like, shoot me your number and let's give this thing a try. Those guys turn out to be abusive more often than not. So there's a small handful of patterns that I would say are high toxic and disciplinary directive. So your ex, right at the top.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he ended up being a psychopath, so yes.
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that happened. And the longer this method goes on and the more women who join it, we keep hearing that over and over and
Oh
over
yeah, he's
again.
extremely dangerous. He's
Mhm.
I mean, the more he started to reveal himself and use more everyday language, the more scary. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, I believe he was trying to kill me. So he's a very scary man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a hunter. That's what he was doing. He's extremely extremely predatory.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's a lot of them out there. And I don't mean to be alarmist. I'm actually not an alarmist person. But I mean, if you look at the statistics on violence against women, you don't have to be an alarmist. Like, we all should be concerned.
Yeah. Do you think there's something uniquely happening on dating apps that make it more dangerous than the world, or you think that's a reflection of the world?
I think it's a reflection of the world for sure. Because the dating apps, all they are is a microcosm of what's out there, right? They're not changing people for better or worse. It's just the vehicle. It's just that the dating apps give these kind of predatory people access to way more people than they would have had access to before. Because in the past, if when people were meeting someone within their social circle or their family or their, community of faith or whatever, if you ran into someone toxic, even if you didn't know it, you're going to know other people in common, and they would say, ooh, steer clear of that guy. There's nobody to say that on the dating apps because it's a vacuum. It's a social vacuum.
Yeah, you would have watched. I mean, I'm thinking at school, you would have watched how they conducted themselves in the cafeteria. You would have seen what they did in the classroom, and you're like, no, I'm not interested in that. But they're right. They're pretty much of a blank slate.
They are, and the virtual medium allows for a curated presentation of who this person is rather than an accurate one, which is like what you were just talking about. Seeing someone conduct themselves in real life is the accurate portrayal, but nothing's real, in the digital world. It's all kind of how people choose to present.
Yeah, and then we have another problem that happens to us, and that is whatever we don't know about somebody, we project ourselves into that gap, into that space, and we assume the best. I mean, that's what I would end up meeting people, because when I first got widowed, I kind of approached dating like a second job, and I met a lot of first dates, just tons of first dates, and I realized that often they didn't match at all what I thought they would be. In my head, I would create this personality and I'd meet them and I think, well, you're nothing like what I thought. And I was like, what's going on? But what I didn't realize is that I basically projected myself onto them. And then I was surprised when I met somebody very different from me.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's just human nature. We all do that.
So let's talk about language. What does language reveal about us? like, for example, you talked about one of the things I remember in one of your videos is that you talk about even like shoot me a text or
Mhm.
there's this or like they talk about everything is a game, I'm going to
Mhm.
win, and there are ways in which we have these contextuals. I don't know what the right word is to define things. So what
Yeah.
can we start to notice about people that will give us some insight into who they are?
I mean, one of the primary things that women on the dating apps who are dating men should watch out for is any form of um, direction, like we just talked about, or objectification. Like I would say, if I'm going to pick two things that are like the reddest red flags that this is going to be bad, is a man who is directing you. So he's actually I'm gonna add one other to that I'll get to in a second. A man who's assuming a position of authority over you in any
Mm.
way before he even knows you, um, and a man who's objectifying you in any way, which is, I mean, leading with "you're so beautiful" is objectifying. He doesn't need to be commenting on your appearance before he's met you at all, in any way, positive or negative. So I would say direction, objectification, and the other one is this pattern we call it "I'm the prize" pattern, where men will say something like, I have a full life and a demanding job, but I'll make time for the right woman, where he positions himself as something you have to earn. And it sounds like clarity, right? And it sounds like I'm a successful person who's discerning and makes decisions for myself, which great, we all are. But the guys who talk like that, they are automatically assuming that their time is both more valuable and more in demand than yours. It's like it's never occurred to them that they might be meeting women who have busy lives and demanding jobs and who are also making that same set of decisions. So this positioning himself as this prize to be obtained or like sort of prove yourself to me, also high toxic.
Yeah, I can see how it's sort of it's definitely a one-up position,
Oh yeah,
we looking
right.
for this entitlement, and I hear that I'm a
Hmm.
superior human being and you have to earn
Right.
time with me.
Right, and they believe that, like,
Mm.
deeply, but they wouldn't interrogate it that way to themselves, and they don't realize that they're revealing it to women who are reading language in the right way, but they do believe it, and they do reveal it. Even
Mhm.
very smart men still reveal it if you pay close enough attention.
What do you think of the ones that say no drama? I mean, that's a super yeah, that's just a constant out there.
Constant, which is shocking. It's like the punchline of every internet joke, and they're still doing it. I think it reveals two things. Number one, their definition of drama is like normal life. So what they're saying is, I don't want to be bothered with anything that's not fun, anything that might be complicated, anything that might upset you, even completely reasonably. I'm going to label that drama, right? So that's one problem. And then the other thing we find over and over again is that the guys who scream no drama, they're maybe the subtext of that is because like, baby, I'm going to bring it all, right? Like
I know
I
that's what
got
I was
all
like.
the
They usually,
drama.
yeah, there tons of
Yeah.
drama come with them.
Tons of drama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like police presence drama a lot
yeah,
of times, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's almost to me, it's like a prescription against themselves.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
You can't react to all the drama I'm going to be creating for you.
Right, yeah. No, I think that's exactly right, yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so, so what I'm hearing you think, because I really had a different opinion. I was seeing the dating apps as almost those who can't meet people in real life are going.
Mhm,
I mean, I use them too, but or I have, but there are groups of people who are specifically using them as almost like hunting grounds, and that
mhm,
to me it increases. I think there's more danger there, more than we would like. They're more than we're comfortable at believing
mhm.
that there is.
Yeah, I agree. I saw a comment, I don't remember if it was on Facebook or Instagram, where a woman was trying to explain to someone who clearly, like, had come in recently and didn't understand what we were doing, and she said, "Honestly, a lot of Burned Haystack is just about protecting women from abuse." And
Hmm.
at first that stopped me and I was like, "Well, I don't know." But then the more I thought about it, I thought, "No, that's actually true." Like, your
Yes.
number one goal on the dating apps is to learn how to protect yourself from abuse.
Yeah.
And then from there, maybe you end up with a beautiful, partnership. That's
Right.
great. But our number one goal, I would say, is protecting women.
I find it hard to use because I want to give a person a chance. And I
Right.
often think it's kind of harsh for me to say, "Oops, you made us." See, when you use a word that reveals a lot about me, you made a slip, and maybe you didn't really mean that, and I need to sort of see more to know that
Right.
that's really what that reveals. But you would tell me no. You would say no. That wasn't a slip, Kerry. That was he revealed his nature.
That's absolutely what I would say. And I've had a lot of people, a lot of podcast interviewers actually ask me, are you worried that you might be too strict, that you might every now and then be missing someone who's a good match? So let me acknowledge that, yes, that is absolutely a possibility. It is totally possible that I am so strict that I would let someone, go just out of whatever, like fear, or too strictly applying my own critical discourse analysis or whatever.
Mhm.
I would much, much, much rather take that chance myself. And I would rather other women take that chance than take a chance on ending up with a bad guy, because we know how
Yeah.
that goes. And it's way worse. Like,
Yeah.
I would rather be alone for the rest of my life than give people chances
Oh,
because of
yeah.
what
I
that can
mean,
lead to.
I've had a horror story, dating horror story on a first date. I have a girlfriend of mine she's pretty open actually, and she was really looking for a one night stand. So, but
Hmm.
she gets into a date and he slams her up against the glass, patio window, and she's scared for her life. She got out okay, but she was like, she might not have.
I,
Fortunately, she had her wits about her to know how to get out of the situation.
I have a friend who same exact experience, except she did not get out okay.
Mm.
She was violently sexually assaulted to the point that she was in the hospital.
Mm. Mm.
Same thing. And that we would like to think these are outlier cases, and they are in a way, right? Like, that's not more likely than not to happen on a first
Yeah.
date. I'm not saying that. But it also happens way too often, and it's incredibly difficult to prosecute. So these guys go on and they do it again.
Yeah, it is. It's really scary. So what are some things that we can start to look for that are warning signs that this person might be a challenging or if not outright dangerous person? You talked about the dominance, taking charge and objectification. Are there other
Yeah.
cues that are really helpful to notice as well?
So what I've done is categorize all these things into a set of what I call rhetorical patterns. There are 33 of them that'll
Mm.
be in my book, which is coming out in April, and each one we go through real life examples, multiple real life examples from men on dating apps. So it's real important with critical discourse analysis. You have to have valid artifacts, right? We have to analyze actual language, every single word, because I'm interested in everything down to the verb tense that's used, the pronoun, whatever it is. So I really need it to be exact. So we've categorized 33 different rhetorical patterns. And I know that sounds like a lot, and women think, oh my God, I can't memorize 33 rhetorical patterns. You don't have to. I could put any one of them in the Facebook group right now, and there would be hundreds of women within 15 seconds that would categorize them all correctly right off the top of their head. And the book has not come out yet. This is how quickly you internalize these things. And part of it is just spending time with us, listening to these explanations. Obviously, it's way easier when the book comes out because it'll be a reference manual.
Right, right, right.
But it's just the patterns. You have to learn the patterns. And not all of them are super toxic. I have one that's all just about the fitness bros. What does his fitness obsession reveal about him? So what's different about a rock climber versus a bodybuilder, right? And that's more just information. A lot of the time we use this just for information. But then there are ones like disciplinary directive, what I call conditional decency, which is I'll treat you I'll treat you the way you treat me, which, I mean, all of human relationships are transactional to some degree, but if the subtext is sort of you need to do certain things for me to treat you as a human being, that's conditional decency, and that's high toxic.
You mentioned a Facebook group, but I don't think most people know what we're referring to. So can you kind of explain what that is?
Sure. So I started a Facebook group in the spring of 2023 with just a few women from a women's writers group I was in. It's a private group. And I just kind of wanted a cohort of people to sort of start testing the method with me and talking about it. I didn't have any kind of social media presence, so I couldn't like bring people from anywhere. And I also didn't have any money to like promote posts or hire strategists. So like I had no idea what I was doing. This morning, actually, about an hour before you and I are recording this, the membership of that group, which is private, hit 250,000 women and non-binary people. And that's all word of mouth. And I mean, just people sharing with each other and bringing their mothers and their daughters and their sisters and their friends. And it is a man-free space, which I thought was important.
Mhm.
Instagram is there's an Instagram account too that's obviously open to everybody, but the Facebook group is where the majority of the work has been done, and this like development of what's now become a feminist revolution in the most organic way possible.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Mhm.
I think I joined back in the day when it was maybe 50 to 80,000 people, but even that
Okay,
wasn't
yeah.
yeah, it even
Right,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
these numbers are bananas, right? But the article that sort of, like, turns the corner for Burned Haystack was an article I wrote for Huffington Post, and when I submitted it, I like, bragged to Noah Michelson, the editor there. I was like, "Noah, this group has 600 women in it." Like, I thought that was a lot. I'm like, "There's 600 of us,"
That's
having
great.
no idea that it was just about to explode. Yeah.
And now you're up to 250,000.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's
Yeah.
incredible. One of the ones that I remember, off the top of my head, and I see it everywhere, the pattern everywhere, and I see it a lot in abusive relationships, is a test and apologize.
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
test and apologize manifests a number of ways on the dating apps, but usually it looks like this, and it's always very early, like at like the very first message or the first day of messaging, a man will send something usually sexual in nature, and then immediately before she has a chance to respond, he'll text again or message again and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That was completely inappropriate. I know better than that. Please give me another chance." Sort of building in this like plausible deniability. I'm a good guy. But the reality is, a good guy wouldn't have done that in the first place because it wouldn't have occurred to him to do that to a woman he didn't know.
So what do you think that reveals? I mean, now I'm asking you to be a psychologist for a second, but
Yeah.
what some guesses do you have about that?
Well, I think I think there's a couple options. I mean, it definitely reveals a conception of women that is very like commodified, objectified, sexualized, and misogynistic. Um and I think that happens unintentionally. I also think there's a lot of men who are like they're testing and they know they're testing, because if what they really want is just, like a quick hookup so that they can discard someone and go on to the next woman, they want to see, like, does this woman have any boundaries? Is she going to catch this? Or like, is this like a clear path for me to sort of like wreak havoc? Because if that's what they want to do, they can get that information fairly quickly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Do you think women do this to men? I mean, have you looked at that on that side? Because
I
I'm
have,
sure my audience is going to ask me, why didn't you ask her
right.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a valid question. And I can't answer it because I haven't studied it. Like I'm very careful to stay in my lane, and I know what my lane is, and I know that I'm interested in working with women to protect women. I think that research would be valid, to find out if it's happening the other way. I don't have time to do it. I hope somebody does do it. I'd also
Hmm.
love to know the answer. I mean, my suspicion is that not as much, because I think women just aren't socialized to objectify men or to control or abuse men in the way that men are socialized to do that to women in a patriarchal society. But I truly don't know. Mm-mm.
Yeah, because I'm really kind of trying to get at even a deeper question. And because I was familiar with Deborah Tannen's work years ago, she was a social linguistics. I don't know
Yeah.
how well thought she is of today, but she was looking at the use of language and what it revealed about kind of gender stereotypes and even the way in which people conceptualize relationships. And she had noticed that men tend to use more hierarchical language than women do.
Yeah.
And when I think about some of the patterns that you've picked up, I play video games, and that means I'm in a lot of men's spaces because men are playing it. And one of the games I play is a live game with other live players, and it often ends up being player against player. It becomes nasty, and people are starting to fight each other. But you don't have to. You can choose to do that or choose not to do that. And but what I've noticed is that is when you play with other men, there's a way in which they view the world that's just very different from a woman.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I just find some of that stuff kind of hurtful, and they're like, well, why not? I mean, I made the game better for them. I made it challenging. I'm like, no, you stole from them. You hurt, you took away something from them that we're pursuing. So I just find it fascinating in which the way we approach the world can be so vastly different that ends up feeling predatory or exploitative. And I don't know if it's sad that can be the mindset that some people just have about the world in general, is that it's a dog-eat-dog world, and if I don't participate in it, I'm going to be eaten.
Right. Well, and also, and I think this is part of the phenomenon you just described in online gaming, is that women, like, we've spent our whole lives being afraid of men, right? Like, we were told as little girls to stay away from strangers. As teenagers, we were told to walk to our car with our keys in our hands like this in case we had to defend ourselves, and, to check the back to make sure there's not someone hiding. And we hear all these horror stories from our friends or from things we've, experienced firsthand. Men just haven't had to do that. Not that men are never victimized. They are. And that's just as horrible. It's not just as common, not anywhere near, right?
Yeah,
so if you're talking about like a critical mass of people having a certain set of experiences, women's experiences taken across that whole arc are just much different than men's. And so of course that like colors everything, and everything is sort of mediated by that.
Yeah. I interviewed Don Hennessy, who wrote the book, How He Gets Into Her Head. You might find that fascinating.
I bet I would, yeah.
Oh, because he talks about he says that an abuser knows that they've been successful when the target begins to use their language.
Yeah, for sure.
And conceptualizes the world from their perspective. And and in the interview, he said, yeah, what I hate to tell you, Kerry, he's 80 years old, after 80 years, I feel like I can distill down that what most men are pursuing is to maintain their access to sexual assets, whatever their assets are. And wow, I mean, that's not the world I exist in at all. Yeah,
no, nor the world we want anyone to exist in.
I know.
Yeah.
So let's jump over the podcast extra and see if you can let's talk about the top 5. Not only dangerous ones, but maybe just warning signs that we should pay attention to when we're on a dating profile, and we can look at those. But how can people find you or find out more about your book that's coming out in April, which this is going to be posted just before the book is released? So, tell us more about how to find you and the book.
Okay. Well, the name of the book is Burned Haystack, and it's coming from HarperCollins, and you can buy it anywhere. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you buy books in any format.
Yeah, we'll make sure we have a link in the show notes for anyone who's looking for it.
Yeah, so hardcover, audiobook, Kindle. Anywhere you buy books, you should be able to get it. Burn the Haystack. The Facebook group is called Burned Haystack Dating Method. There are some fake Facebook groups out there, so when you search, just look for the one that has 250,000 people in it. That's going to be the real one, or whatever it is by then. My Instagram handle is Word Case Scenarios. It's WRD Case Scenario, like worst case scenario with underscores. But if you search like Instagram Burned Haystack, you're gonna end up there anyway. So that's where to find me.
Well, thank you so much for this. This is really a wonderful discussion, and I'm so grateful for what you're doing. Really
thank
grateful.
you. I'm grateful to you for having me on. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode. Are you following me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube? You can find me at Kerry McAvoy, PhD. Or you can learn about me and more about my resources, such as the Toxic Free Relationship Club, at kerrymcavoyphd.com. If you found this episode helpful, please do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review. And I'll see you back here next week.
That's it for this episode. I want to give a huge thanks to Dr. Kerry McAvoy for letting me share this conversation with you, and to Dr. Jennie Young for the work she's doing to help people decode dating language before it costs them time and heartache. I hope that this conversation has been a huge help to you, and I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. If you've been listening for a while, you may already understand what's happening in your relationship. You can see the patterns, you can name the behaviors, but maybe you still feel stuck in the same cycle. This is where coaching comes in. It's not about learning more, it's about having the support to finally apply what you already know and begin to move forward. If you're ready for that next step, I invite you to join me in my coaching program. You can learn more about it at covertnarcissism.com. Your story matters, and you deserve to be heard without judgment. Check out my coaching services at my website, again, covertnarcissism.com. And don't forget to subscribe, to thumbs up, to follow, to like this podcast so that you can get more empowering episodes like this one, and to help us continue spreading the word so that our community can continue to grow. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. The information provided by Renee Swanson, Covert Narcissism Podcast, and CNG Life Coaching is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes and not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a healthcare provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. Renee shares stories from her personal experience as well as from those she has talked with for several years. Her material does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support any allegation or support a claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of this material and information provided.
Are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, or anxious? There is help. I'm Denise Eckert, host of the Calm Your Daily Stress podcast. Each week, I sit down with experts who share real stress relief techniques and practices you can start using today. Because you deserve to feel calm, not chaotic. Look for the Calm Your Daily Stress podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and start feeling better today.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.